Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you back to my interview with Harvey Mackay. Harvey, welcome back. Nice to see you again.
Nice to be back.
So in the first segment, you helped us understand how you got started, what it was like growing up in St. Paul, how your parents influenced you, other mentors, your hungry fighter mindset, your ability to network at a young age and through your father's influence. And you leveraged all of that, as you told us in the prior segment, to build McKay Mitchell Envelope Company, $100 million success story today. You went on to become one of the world's greatest authors, greatest speakers, family man, community leader, and athlete. So that was what we covered in segment one. So now what we're going to talk about is digging deeper to the writing career and the creativity that you exhibit today. So help us understand, I've been really wanting to ask you this. As one of the greatest business writers of all time, you obviously love to read. So if you had to pick one book of any, what's your favorite book if you had to pick one?
Well, among the 7 books, if you want the accurate information, correct answer, it's a tie. So you see, that way I get an extra book in there. Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive happened so fast I didn't even know what hit me. All of a sudden you're on Larry King and you're on Oprah and you're on Good Morning America and you've sold 5 million books before you can say Jack Robinson. So that was a huge thrill. And I call that take home value. But also Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, the only networking book you'll ever need. And I might add Swim with the Sharks is outsell, outmanage, outmotivate, and out-negotiate your competition. But Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, it's in 200 universities. And that also changes lives. Because you can take all my money, Cliff, take all my factories, take all my land from me, but leave me my network. And I'll be back to where I was today in 5 years. That's how important that network is. So I'm very proud of that. Interesting that Jack Kemp, he ran for vice president with Bob Dole, as you may remember, many years ago. And he was a friend. I was at a meeting with him. I had a meeting with him after. He was in Minneapolis. I said, I've got a new book here, Jack. Might you read it? And I'd love an endorsement. He said, sure. I said goodbye to him. 24 hours later, he was named vice president candidate, okay, on the Republican side of the aisle. Never heard from him for 6 weeks. Told my publisher that endorsement would not be coming through. Boom. One day the phone rings. It's Kemp. I love this book. I'm not going to write you an endorsement. I want to write the foreword to the book. What are you doing tomorrow? He said, I want you to come on Air Force 2. Right? We're going from New York to LA, which I did join him and his wife. All right, just the 3 of us. Press was in the back. All right, size of a 727 airplane. And Jack Kemp wrote the introduction to Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And what did he say in the opening sentence? Basically, Harvey Mackay was born to write this book. So that was just a huge thrill.
So the titles are, to this day, still off the charts creative. Explain how you developed the creativity and came up with so many great titles.
First, it all started with my father again. We called it the icebox, not the refrigerator. And he would slap, they didn't have Post-it notes in those days, Scotch tape, and a note underneath, on top, whatever. And he would put all these different sayings and aphorisms. He was an aphorism junkie. Not only that, but he had it also on his mirror when he shaved. Had it everywhere. So I grew up with aphorisms. That's number one. Now I submit to you, Cliff. What would you rather have? All right, just think about this for a moment. Would you rather have the words "prepare to win"? You see, I've written 7 books, which is 490,000 words in books. Columns, over 1,000 of them at 750,000 words. Speeches I've given, are are 1,000, 200. Just imagine that, how many words there are in that 90-minute speech. Now, the entire theme of all of those columns and the books and the speeches, the entire theme is 3 words basically: prepare to win. Boring. Who's going to buy a book, Prepare to Win? Or would you rather buy a book, Beware the Naked Man, who offers you his shirt, dig your well before you're thirsty again, swim with the sharks without being eaten alive, we got fired, and it's the best thing that ever happened to us. Use your head to get your foot in the door, and then the MBA of selling, Mackay MBA of selling. Would you rather read those books or Prepare to Win and something like that? So that's the reason why I really work hard on those titles. When I hire an advertising agency, they hire 10 people. We spend 6 hours. We beat everything around, talk about it, put the titles up on a wall. Everybody gets 5 gold, 5 red, 5 blue, first, second, and third. And whoever's got the most gold stamps, stars, that's the title. Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive, which was my title, that got more gold stars than the other 300 titles up there. Incidentally, second place was There's No Off Switch on a Tiger.
That was a close second?
Not at all. It was World War III. The publisher said, we're not going that title. That's deep sea fishing. People won't know it's a business book. Way too many words. Swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. And then I went home, got the advertising agency, brought back the 6 hours of research, done deal. I hit it out of the park.
Well, you also convinced them that you could come out of the gate selling a lot of books, and therefore you asked them to print a record number of books as an unpublished author. So explain how you made that happen.
Well, that might be my most favorite story, I guess, of all in the publishing industry. But for 30, 40, 50 years, if you're an unknown author, all right, no one's ever heard of you, never published a book before, and you get one of the majors, which is 5 or 6 or 7 companies. I got William Morrow and Company at the time. They're one of the world's best publishers, without question. And so here, I'm trying to get a contract with them, and I go for my summit meeting. They have to understand Ken Blanchard, unheard of at the time, 10,000, 1-minute manager. Tom Peters, in search of excellence, 10,000 copies. They only print 10,000 because they're not sure of you. And you want more. There used to be 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 bookstores in the United States when I wrote Swim with the Sharks. So anyway, I roll in having that background, and the meeting goes in about 45 minutes. I finally asked for the order. I said, I'd like you to seriously consider printing 100,000 copies, Swim with the Sharks. We're on the 27th floor. Sales manager, national sales manager, told me to jump. Closes his books. Thank you, Mr. Mackay. Obviously, we're not going to get together. And then he looks at me and kind of screams, who are you? Come in here and ask for 100,000 hardcover copies. Never print more than 10,000. First time unknown author. And then I had brought I brought 2 humongous Rolodex files with me. Put them under the table at the board that we're having the meeting. Brought them up on the table. 6,500 names in the 2 Rolodexes. First Rolodex, United States only. Here's Pillsbury, General Mills, 3M, Honeywell, same thing. Major companies, all doing envelope business with me. Maybe they'll buy the book. Maybe they'll pass it along. Wow. Then all of a sudden, I went to the other Rolodex. There I had another 1,000 among the 6,200 or 500. Paco Galatas, Madrid, Spain. Oh, he's got 1,000 employees. Good friend. Maybe they'll read the book. Maybe they'll pass it along. Maybe it'll be an international bestseller. 3 weeks and 3 meetings later, they published 100,000 hardcover copies with Swim with the Sharks. Did I know when I was 18 18 years of age, that my father would teach me all about the Rolodex, and I kept track and all those cards? No. Incidentally, I had another World War III with them, over and above the name I had fight with them. this is a big fight. But the publisher wouldn't go forward, okay, with the title. That was number one. And then number two, I can't remember, but they had another major complaint. And I wouldn't give in on it. Well, all of a sudden we delayed it 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I wouldn't give in. And finally, I prevailed, pushed him over the cliff again. Guess what? All right, 5 million books sold, Swim with the Sharks. Oh, I know what it was. I remember now. Nobody had ever done this before. Money back guarantee. Money back guarantee if you don't like this book. And they wouldn't put that in there, but they did. And so therefore, 5 million copies sold. 17 people asked for their money back.
It was the first time any publisher had ever done that, right?
Never. 17 people. 7 of those 17 were my best friends.
Yeah, they're still your best friends too, I'm sure. I've talked to a few of them.
I think they wanted to keep me humble.
Okay, so Swim with the Sharks, you print 100,000 copies, 10 times what anybody had done before, start selling like hotcakes, your speaking career's taking off, then you hit Shark Proof, get the job you want, keep the job you love, 1994. So how did that happen so quickly?
Well, I went out and interviewed a lot of people, and one thing every author will tell you, as soon as you write a successful book, an extraordinarily successful book, and sell millions of copies, that publisher is over you and all over you every day and week and month, again, and year. Yeah. So you'll see that anyone that's ever written a New York Times bestseller, and again, very proud, I've got 7 of them with 3 of them #1, very proud of that. Okay. They, the publisher, will almost make you and entice you to write a second book. So that's how that book happened to become popular and a New York Times bestseller.
So they make it worth your while. And today, as we know, the publishing world has changed, and a huge part of the Academy is helping our emerging authors and speakers become successful. So back then, what you're really saying is they made you an offer you couldn't refuse to follow up on one book after the next because you were a top-selling guy.
Absolutely. Actually, my second book was Beware the Naked Man Who Offers You His Shirt.
So that was 1996. Do what you love what you do, and deliver more than you promise.
Right. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
And that one sold like hotcakes too. Again, a New York Times bestseller. So you're on a roll. But then after that, it's Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, the only networking book you'll ever need, which for me personally is by far my favorite. And I think that's true of a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, without question, because how many people in this world can use networking? Like 99.999%, helps you get a job, helps you make friends, gives you choices, gives you opportunities. It's incredible to build that network, and anyone can do it. That's the beauty of it.
And if the essence of everything you teach is prepare to win, even though that's not a sexy title, what you're really teaching people is that the essence of preparing to win is building that network of relationships. Because you've never made a cold call in your life, have you?
Cold call?
Yeah, as opposed to working through your network?
No such thing as a cold call. You always want to get a friend to set the table for you. Then you have instant credibility coming in. Do you have time for another quick little story?
Absolutely. I'd love it. We'd love it.
Again, very succinctly, I got a call from China. They wanted me to come over and speak. There were going to be 3,500 people in the auditorium, 8 hours, 4 hours myself talking, and then 4 hours of the interpreter. And I asked him who was the speaker, and the name show remained anonymous, but one of the best speakers in the country and the world. I said, when did he speak? It's our first speaker. He was a year ago. How'd he do? They weren't happy with him. Why not? Because he had too many colloquialisms and we didn't understand. He talked a little bit too fast. So I told this person, all right, I would do it on one condition. And of course, the honorarium was beyond anyone's comprehension. These are really in the hot days in the 80s, the 90s, when publishing was just flourishing and setting records and going through the roof. And again, humongous honorariums if you're an author and you want to write a book. Another reason why is because the Chinese and the Japanese and Indians, they all wanted to come and have you speak. So therefore, that was more books, more of everything. Anyway, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll come on one condition. They said, what's that? I said, I want to come 48 hours early. I want you to have a banker, a salesperson, a pharmacist, a government official, a salesman, an engineer. I want you to load that room up with 10 or 12 or 15 people that are representative of the 3,500. And I want to give them my entire speech. And I want to see if they laugh. I want to see if they understand the content. And if they don't, I can make changes right there on the spot. And then I've got a chance to win. Prepare to win, remember? And they agreed to do that. So I got there 2 days early, 8 hours. I mean, let them try to understand. I don't care how many pails of milk I lose. I don't want to lose the cow. People just don't understand these kinds of colloquialisms. So I changed the third of the speech, went out and made the speech, and they invited me back before I got home. So little things mean a lot, not true. Little things mean everything. And then I consider myself very creative. I did a very creative thing, and that is as follows. I put in 300 hours on Chinese before I arrived, Berlitz Language School. So when I got up and they introduced me, obviously that interpreter next to me was going to take my English back to the crowd, okay, of Chinese. However, many of them spoke English. So I got introduced in Chinese. Then I walked up and I said, catch that? Well, actually, they understood every single word. And why? Of course, because he went to English, but he didn't go to English. He went from Chinese to English, but they understood it right away. Anyway, the lines were long when I was signing books, and it was a humongous thrill. Very, very satisfying to make a difference in one day of those many thousands of Chinese.
So let's jump forward to the next book after Dig Your Well, because that's pushing the envelope. How did you time the pushing the envelope book launch as the next book?
When a person with money meets a person with experience, let me repeat that. Person with money meets a person with experience. Here's what happens. Person with the experience winds up with the money, and the person with the money winds up with the experience. So after I've written a few books, you get kind of good at the marketing, kind of get good at what the public wants. You're out there making speeches, and again, I repeat, I want constant, immediate, unfiltered feedback from my customers. Customer, of course, is everything. So I'm on a roll. Again, I have momentum. People are asking me more and more. We want more information. The waiting list for speeches is just going bananas. And so I wrote another book. And of course, pushing the envelope, in the envelope business, I put that in the culture. I put swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. I put that in the culture. You'll hear many people say, dig your well before you're thirsty. I put that in the culture. And of course, one other brief little story, if I may, go back to swim with the sharks. Is that all right?
Let's.
I'm extremely, again, proud that I changed the restaurant business. How did I change it? Well, I wrote in Swim with the Sharks that if let's say I'm taking you, Cliff, you're a customer, I only met you one time, I'm in your city, I find out, of course, through back checks, what your favorite restaurant is. I go get the reservation, I get the maitre d' on the phone the day before, I tell them I'm from out of town, I'm coming in, and I say I want the best table in the restaurant, and then I go through my list. I don't want to be in a high traffic zone, sitting in the front. I don't want to be sitting next to they're cleaning the plates, okay, and cleaning the garbage right next to me. I want to be looking at a swinging door that goes, okay, looking at the bathroom. I want to be in the noisy part. I want to be looking at a wall. I want to be at the middle so my customer and I can see out that one of the two of us just isn't looking at a wall. And about 3 other suggestions like that. And then I say with a very good smile over the phone, and you won't be sorry when I get there. And of course, I give them a very flattering tip. And you know what? Then I say, don't bring the check to the table. When I get through, I'm just going to walk out. Nothing more. And of course, that's what I do. So I have dinner with you. We get through with the dinner. We have our dessert. And all of a sudden I say, let's go. And we walk out. And you, I can tell you, are flabbergasted. Every restaurant I've ever taken anybody, they always are. The next time they meet, because this is our first meeting clip, say, Harvey, where'd that check go the first time? You have to remember now, I'm 21 years old. It was a long time ago when I came up with this. And therefore, I wrote it in Swim with the Sharks, 5 million copies sold. Everybody told everybody else. And when I go in the restaurant, people, the restaurateur does know who I am. And they're just doing this by the hundreds of thousands, getting the check in advance. So again, I'm fairly proud with that creativity.
And testimony to that is every time I've dined with you, I have never seen a check once, no matter where we go. And that's you creating your private club and making your customer, your guests feel super special everywhere you go in the world, basically.
Right. And during that lunch, guess what? I want you to think, if you're going to buy from me, because you're not a customer, just a prospect, I want you to think that if you become a customer, you're the only customer I'm going to have. That's it. Total, unadulterated focus. Again, every day, week, and month. And that means a lot, that I'll be accessible all of the time. Anyway, over my career, I can only tell you, it does work.
Well, your customer focus, between the Mackay 66, your networking skills, everything you teach for so many years, most of us, me included, have built our networks around your principles. And given that, I want to talk about what you consider to be, I think it's what you call the most important quality of any leader. If they don't have this quality, they can't be a leader. They can't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know
my
material.
So go ahead, tell us.
No,
Let's talk about that, because tell everybody what that is, because that's a biggie.
I say this from the podium with all my heart and soul and might. You cannot be a CEO, cannot be a president. You cannot be an entrepreneur, cannot be a coach, president of a university, sales manager, anyone with a reporting relationship, unless you know this one tiny little 4-letter word. There are a million words in the English language. And all you have to do is understand this 4-letter word. What is it? H-I-R-E, hire. If you can't hire, you're dead in the water. Hire the right person, okay? Become president of university, it goes to the moon, which incidentally ASU did 7, 8, 9 years ago. Arizona State University. Hire the wrong football coach. Bingo, program goes right into the tank. I could name you 25 schools that have done that. Hire the wrong CEO, in the tank. Hire the right one, to the moon. So it's not very complicated. I've studied hiring for over 50 years at the feet of the best people in the country. And I can just tell you, my batting average is up there around 80, 85%. Average is 60 to 70%. It's pretty tough to sit down and interview someone 1 or 2 or 3 times and then expect to have them be with you for the next 10, 20 years. Very, very tough business.
Well, I just want our audience to know that when I did my research on you before we started working together, I checked out Mackay Mitchell and what the company culture is like. And I think what I learned is 70+% of your people have been there more than 25 years, very loyal company culture. And your sales organization has zero turnover, I understand, the last 3 years, which is essentially unheard of in sales organizations. So would you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I have another philosophy than the reason why Shark sold 5 million books, if you had to prioritize. First reason, maybe the second and third reason, all the same one. People don't care how much you know about them once they realize how much you care about them. And this has been my philosophy. I wrote that, and there's no difference between a customer and an employee, okay, or a supplier. There's just no difference. And so we treat everybody all the same. And it's very important that they understand that. So we'll move mountains for our people. And how did I build my business? I built it with that philosophy. How does basically no one leave me? Real simple. Agreements prevent disagreements. If you fight your guts out for an agreement, Cliff, you're not going to have a disagreement. And then you have to, of course, honor your word. And I try to deliver more than I promise, whatever I tell them. And then, of course, when I interview, I go back, I've got 9 or 10 steps I do. And just 1 or 2, I go back to, well, let me give you the most controversial first. Many viewers out there will not agree with me. And I don't expect you to, but it works for me. I've never hired a key person being salespeople, sales manager, CEO, president, HR person, factory manager, shipping head. Never hired one of those persons in all my years, 50 plus years in business, without going to the living room, into the living room, and meeting their family and children. I want that family to know this is the biggest decision I'm making this year. Anyone can buy an envelope machine. Takes no talent whatsoever. But to go pick a human being, all right, and work with him or her over, again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, that's very difficult and very challenging. One other one would be the acid test of hiring. If I'm interviewing you, Cliff, again, we've never met before, for a key job at our company, in the first 5, 8 minutes, I will think again, right to my brain bank, how would I feel if Cliff Jones were working for one of my competitors? If I'm not worried, that's the end of the meeting, period. That's why I tell everybody I'm going to interview, it'll be about 15, 20 minutes. And then if it's serious, I'll go to an hour, of course. Then I'll have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meetings with them, different venues. I will go out and play golf with them. They're a golfer. I'll take them to a Broadway play if that person is in New York. I'll let my friends interview them because they see me from a different perspective than my people at work do. So they'll find out everything. And then the last, well, there's many, many, many more. We could spend the whole hour on hiring, but the last one that really sets the table for me, which I've been doing all this since age 26 when I got started in my business again, which I still have. McKay Mitchell Envelope Company is the current name today. All right. It's really important to set that table. And what do I mean? Cliff comes in one-on-one, and here's what I say. Let's say this is his 4th or 5th time in. So he's heading toward being a finalist. And I say to Cliff, okay, we've had 3 or 4 meetings. They've been very, very nice. But now this is how I want to conduct this meeting. All right. I want you to say and follow the following principle. This is what I want you to do. If you go to a doctor and you got headaches, migraines, and you've got chest pains, and you tell that doctor about the chest pains and don't tell him or her about the migraines, guess what? He can't help you. So therefore, I'm going to feel free to ask you any single question I want to, and I want you to feel free to ask me any question. Now, when you put that candidate at ease like that, you've got a higher probability to find out what makes that person tick.
Well, you are not only a master in hiring as a leader, but your books over the years teach career builders the other side of the equation, because I just want to read a few of the titles. Again, epic books. We Got Fired, and It's the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Us, 2004. Fired Up, How the Best of the Best Survived and Thrived After Getting the Boot, 2005. Next book, Use Your Head to Get Your Foot in the Door, Job Search Secrets No One Else Will Tell You, 2010. So what was driving your desire to write books, not for leaders, but also for people trying to climb the career ladder?
Well, two things. What I saw in the marketplace, and got to remember, I'm calling on 300 accounts. So I have a feel, touch, and pulse of what's going on out there in the business world. And I kind of thought of the following paragraph, which I guess has become fairly famous. And that is, it's not the people you fire who make your life miserable. It's the people you don't fire who make your life miserable. Whenever I say that, I get more amens than a Billy Graham sermon. But this is what you have to do as a manager. And when I see the turmoil that was going on out there in those years that you're talking about, and one or two hefty recessions in there, and a lot of unemployed people, I just decided that, hey, my buyers have a lot of sons and daughters out there in the workplace, or will be. And therefore, why not write an aid? I mean, a real aid, because they're all New York Times bestsellers. Write an aid that will help my customers, kids, children, okay, get a job. And so it was a very, very hot topic, and I just followed up on it.
So you have a desire to help young entrepreneurs through the relationship you had with their parents, and then even to this day, I hear you talk about it. You are very happy when you speak about this. You smile, beam rather. But kids are coming into the university. We have young entrepreneurs coming to the academy, and you still help people's children get their careers to the next level, right?
Well, yes, and let me just go back again to this. People don't care how much you know about them once they realize how much you care of them. Again, I could spend I could spend hours on this, but just to highlight it for a second, to give you the creme de la creme of that concept, of that philosophy. We mentioned earlier cold calls. I don't make a cold call because I do all my homework. I prepare to win, to find out as much as I can about that person. And I've got about 15 different skill sets that I have that can get me information about that particular buyer. But if you know something about every person you do business with, and again, they used to call them purchasing agents. Now they're called purchasing managers, which is the new name. So I'm calling on General Mills. I want the business. If I can find out how many children he has, I can find out, having lunch with him or reading the desk, reading the walls, being able to read upside down. I'm kidding on that one. Then look what I can find out. Read the pictures. All of a sudden, how many kids do you have? Where'd you go to school? I can find out where you take your vacations. If he's a Democrat or Republican, skillfully find that out from someone else, where they take their vacations. Again, graduated school, summer jobs, how many jobs before if I can find out the answer, I call it the Mackay 66. When I was 21 years old, I came up with that. 66 questions I wanted to know about my customers. And the only thing I can tell you is it works for me. And of course, it's been copied all over the world. Once I put the 66 questions in Swim with the Sharks without being eaten alive.
It's still one of your biggest downloads, probably one of the most important pieces of work we all see from your amazing lessons over the years, because there's so much to it, but all practical wisdom, and everything you talked about in the early 2000s is even more applicable today when it comes to hiring smart, leading well, firing quickly, all of the things you teach today. So let's skip to MBA, the Mackay MBA of selling in the real world. 2011, another hugely successful book. So talk about how that unfolded and why it was so successful.
Well, a little background. As my speaking career has taken off for now many decades, I got invited, of course, to the top business schools, MBA programs in the United States. The Harvards, the Stanfords, the Whartons, the University of Michigan, again, the Penn States, University of Minnesota. Probably in the top 20, I've probably spoken to 12 or 13 of the top programs. So once again, I kind of know what's going on campus. I've been the graduation speaker, okay, the commencement speaker at University of Southern California a few years ago, Penn State University, just to name a few. So again, I'm on campus, spending time on campus and knowing what's going on campus. Also, I sit on the Board of Trustees for many years again at the Carlson School of Management, which is University of Minnesota, where I graduated. So when you're going around with MBA students, when you're speaking with them, when you're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with them, when you're mentoring them, all right? I mentored a group of 30 people recently, going back a couple of years ago, which then went into the Harvey Mackay University that I started, which is now going into the Harvey Mackay Academy. I'm teaching MBAers. I'm a huge believer in the MBA. I really, truly am. And it's learning a foreign language, that's all. You're learning Chinese or Japanese, and you can use it the rest of your life. And having your MBA gives you choices. If you don't have time to get your MBA, then no one goes to school once for a lifetime. You're in school all of your life. So you can go back and take courses. You don't have to have the official piece of paper. You go back and get that accounting. Go back and get that economics. Go back and get all of that software, everything. And then all of a sudden, you have your MBA. Might have had time to go to graduation and finish it, but look at what you've learned. Look at the skills. So the MBA gives you choices, and it's being knocked all the time. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, if somebody doesn't choose to go in the official MBA route, there are plenty of ways they can learn from a street smart standpoint. We've created a new program, Street Smarts, which basically is our way of taking that MBA Street Smarts knowledge that you've applied over the decades and taught millions of us, and delivering it to small groups of executives that fit the group model we're looking for. True leaders, sales professionals, right? The best of the best. So this is the kind of thing you carry forward each and every day, even in the academy as we grow it, right?
You're spot on. You nailed it.
Okay, so in wrapping up, again, I want to honor your time and thank you for being with us today. Incredibly valuable insights that you're sharing with everybody. New book you're working on now. Everybody wants to know what's in the works from the master himself. So can you give us any insight on what we might expect beyond what you're doing with the academy?
Well, you remember just a few minutes ago, I said agreements prevent disagreements. So I'm going to make agreement with all the people out there in the audience, okay? Definition of a secret is when one person knows. So of course, as soon as I let you in on the secret, it'll no longer be a secret. But I don't mind mentioning it, even though I haven't even told my publisher about it yet. But since the first of the year, I'm working on coming out with a hardcover book, be approximately 75,000 words. It'll be distributed all over the world. And again, I've written over 1,200 columns. And I'm taking the best of those columns and then editing them, my favorite, and coming out with that book of columns. And of course, I know the feedback that I've had already from the marketplace, because they've been printed, of course, and distributed in 10 million newspapers virtually every week. So I'll pick those 100, 150, 200 columns, and with a lot of luck, I'll be out within 12 months with that book. So now it's no longer a secret, and Cliff, you got it out of me, and I sincerely appreciate the very, very nice interview.
Good. Well, I appreciate your time today, Harvey. We will talk again soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being with us. If you'd like to learn more about Harvey Mackay, harveymackayacademy.com. You can find Harvey on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Believe me, we're listening. And we're responding to all of your messages. You can find us at harveymackayacademy.com. Get a free membership, become a member, and be part of our network, and let us help you take your business development and success to a new level. Harvey, again, thanks so much for being with us.
I salute and applaud you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.